episode with the Culture Jockeys, where we spin for you the latest and greatest in arts and entertainment. Coming to you live once again from the very relaxing Leverett House. My name is Cherie Hu. I'm one of the co-hosts. I'm a rising junior at Harvard College. I'm studying statistics and music, and I am a proud music nerd, and...
And joining Cherie today will be her co-host, Richard Nguyen. I am concentrating in psychology. At the emphasis on the psi. Never mind. Whatever. Gosh, make it all awkward for me. I like film. That's what I do. I watch that shit. Yeah, have a good time. And joining us is our guest star, Makinde Ogunaike.
Yeah, I'm also a rising junior in Low House. Loving the summer here, but even more so, loving hanging out with these culture jockeys who've been nice enough to let me on for a third time. Still waiting on that free milkshake though.
Oh. Well, as you know, Cherie's milkshakes brings all the boys to the yard.
And they're better than yours?
What? I can't. It's too much. It's great. But no, thank you for being brave enough to come onto our podcast for the third time.
For sure, man.
And it is the charm, as we all know. So, fist bumps all around, guys. Right. So, what are we gathered?
Oh, you hate to see that.
Oh, wait, actually, we should do a demonstration for our audience of what happens
swoop in.
if you...
I'll swoop in. I'm like a TIE fighter going in.
Snail!
Snail! It's my signature move. Anyways, we are gathered here today for something really amazing that just happened. See, for our audience out there, Cherie, up to this point, has been a virgin. And this past Sunday, she lost her virginity.
I did not think he was going to go this way.
And
very special, a very specific type of virginity. What type? Do you know?
Maybe I'm not getting the...
Keep going.
Wait, can you... Wait, hold on. Wait, where are you going?
Where am I going?
Yeah, where are you getting at?
I'm getting at... This is virginity with a specific film.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this film.
Sure.
You've piqued my interest.
Yes. So this film is the one and only Star Wars 4.
Tell me, you had not seen a single Star Wars film.
Not a single one before this Sunday, 2 days ago.
And you watched which one?
I watched the first one ever made, which is the fourth film in the whole series. Yes.
So proud.
Yes. Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
right there. So, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And what did you think, Cherie? Was it everything you expected it to be? Of course, people were giving you shit about this, including me.
Throwing a bit of shade.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Yeah. It was a bit preposterous, but we're glad you've made the first step out of the 6, soon to be 7 steps.
Yes.
On this path to Nirvana. Actually, hold up. It's actually, yeah, 8-fold.
8-fold, though.
8.
Oh, Star Wars Episode 8 confirmed, guys.
All right.
What? Actually, it's arguable that 3 of these soon-to-be 9 steps is going, or like not steps at all. They're actually like steps downwards rather than, or wait, hold up. No, steps backwards. Sure. Arguably.
And we should definitely get into that tonight.
Yes, we should.
But first, let's hear these first impressions from someone who's just getting exposed to these movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I say, just to preface this is fascinating because everybody knows Star Wars. Makinde knows Star Wars. He's actually the expert on the
I know Star Wars. I've sat through many conversations about the whole Star Wars franchise,
right.
including but not limited to ones led by Makinde. Yep. Some of which have taken place over the past week or so. So I've heard so much buzz about this series, but had never really experienced it for myself. And I really enjoyed it. It was just as theatrical, shamelessly like dramatic and flashy as I expected it to be. One thing that I actually didn't expect was just for there to be so many characters and so many different worlds that you had to grapple with. I mean, I thought it was an interesting experience just trying to understand the film, which there are admittedly still a lot of gaps to be filled, but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really beautifully made, especially considering like the time in which it was made. Some of the acting was like very, like, it was good. It was like very cliche though.
You don't have to say it was good. It was like, for its time, yeah, like, I mean, we just have come to love their characters and their personalities, but like really objectively their acting isn't like good.
But that's not the most important part of the film.
Yeah, like exactly. And it's kind of in the sense of those who have seen like Jurassic World, like the acting there isn't the best, but they're just having a good time. You know, they're not trying to be realistic people. They're just trying, they're embodying some sort of caricature, right?
Well, that's right, and I also think that in the Star Wars films, even more so than almost any other films, that the characters and even just the worlds that they go to, the clothes that they wear, everything in the universe is embodying more than just a caricature or a stereotype, is embodying some kind of fundamental archetype. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason why Star Wars has become so fundamentally embedded in our culture. Because, I mean, the first villain you see, yeah, he's a bad guy, but why is he a bad guy? The first thing you see him with, you see Darth Vader in a meeting room, a corporate setting. Why would anyone think he's a terrible guy? Because he's all decked out in black. You can't see his face. All you can see is this giant respirator and this ominous breathing.
It's like,
and something of that, without any words being expressed, already tells you that there is like, that is the embodiment of evil.
Yeah, and he's standing very tall. He's very imposing. I mean, our first introduction to him was him boarding the Corellian Corvette.
Yep.
And he's all black, and everything else surrounding him is white. So there you have it.
And what about those stormtroopers? That's actually one of the things.
Fuck. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're the ones all white.
Yeah.
And actually that shows a really subtle use of archetypes that I thought was also amazing with Star Wars. It's because on a superficial level, you think white is like good, pure light, right? But it's also the absence of color. It's the absence of character, the absence of any following. So when you see stormtroopers, what are they? They're those devoid of their own thoughts, those devoid of any kind of morality. They are just followers. They're followers of this entire evil empire doing their bidding. They have nothing of their own. And that's actually rather scary. But then on the flip side, you also see Luke in all white, almost through
Princess
the entire
Leia
film.
as well.
Princess Leia.
Yeah.
It's a really, really carefully done thing that I don't think many people see, or I guess perceive would be the correct word. Something you don't internalize until you've either been told or you've seen the film many times. But again, I want to leave this to you because this is your first exposure, and I'm really excited.
We all are. Your entire family. I contacted them to tell them that you lost your virginity
Thank you.
Sunday
I've
night.
been to do that.
And they're
I wrote, the president's going to get back to us later. So
Oh, wonderful.
CNN will also.
I think there's a tax deduction for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were your thoughts on some of the visuals and things? Did you think they were a little, I don't know, like, you already said cliched. Do you think there was a little too much? You were mentioning some stuff about the characters earlier.
I don't think it was too much. So I guess one interesting thought I had was, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the beginning of the film, the majority of the characters we see aren't human. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And the most, so I guess aside from Darth Vader and R2-D2, whatever, a lot of the iconic characters in the series that I knew were human. So like Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and so I really noticed that gap in the beginning. Sorry, you'll have to inform. What are the names of those like hooded, little like short?
Jawas.
Sorry.
Jawas.
Jawas. Okay. I don't know, it's just like seeing all of those running around, and then like only seeing R2-D2, and then what's the name of the
C-3PO.
Sorry?
C-3PO?
C-3PO.
Human cyborg relations.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so seeing all it was a lot of fun. I think they made the movie a lot of fun at the beginning, but that just had me like waiting for just like everything else that was to come. Yeah. What else? You mentioned before my seeing the movie that like the fight sequences were questionably choreographed.
And your thoughts?
That I agree. More or less.
So, go ahead.
No, so the scene where I guess the first like lightsaber fight
True
sequence.
lightsaber battle in the entire series between ObiWan and Darth Vader.
The most meaningful one.
So yeah, it does have a lot of meaning, which is actually incredible, and you don't see that in other. You don't really see the same type of depth of meaning in the fight for other lightsaber battles, but they're much more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So contrast Darth Maul flipping around two Jedis fighting with not a saber staff. Forgive me for all of you who know what a saber staff is, but for a double-bladed lightsaber, dueling Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, jumping around whatever kind of huge factory this is with laser shields. And then you have Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, where Obi-Wan is literally poking his
And this is one where Obi-Wan's like, I'm gonna spin a little bit at this speed.
Yeah.
Just to like dodge.
So on the one hand, it was due to a practical technical reason. It's because special effects were really expensive back then. But also, if you will excuse the lame choreography, one might say, and kind of introduce some sort of reason for that, like thematic reason, it starts to make sense. Are they really fighting each other, or is it more like just them just prodding each other for a bit? Because I don't think Darth Vader was Darth Vader is one of the finest Jedi in the universe, right?
Yep.
Is that how is that him trying? I don't think he's honestly trying that much. It's just looking at it from a retrospective. Actually, technically, if you had seen the prequels, it's like forward, whatever. Knowing that background, that relationship between these two, they're not really out to kill each other. I mean, he does it. Well,
because remember the fight from the third movie?
Yes.
Where they were very explicitly out to kill each other, and Anakin was left without most of his limbs.
Yeah.
And rather furious about it.
But you don't really get that sense of anger. I mean, I feel like Anakin had gotten over it over the many years of penance that he had paid for his actions, right?
That is a very fair point. And if you read more about Darth Vader's backstory, then that is a huge part of his character development. And his adjusting to his very mechanical body. He has to become less emotional and rely more on tactics and such things. Though that doesn't explain the type of fighting. For example, Darth Vader in this fight, he was arguably rather technical, but did not rely much on his strength, which against a much older, weaker foe would be the smart thing to do. Sorry. But Obi-Wan, in like form, has now gotten older, and would only be able to hold up physically by some kind of force augmentation. He would likely rely more on his force abilities and or technique, which you also didn't quite see. So I think that particular battle would be more an issue of the actual filming difficulties. The last bit where Obi-Wan dies / transcends the physical plane, that was one of the best pieces I've ever seen. And I think the greatest conclusion to any of the actual lightsaber battles in the main movies.
Yeah. Because he decided to basically die at that moment to transcend.
I would really like to hear what you thought of that scene, because I definitely have my thoughts, but I've been conditioned from many other people talking to me about this and me sharing my thoughts. So I'd really like to hear what you thought about that scene where Darth Vader slices Obi-Wan and he disappears. And then
I was sort of confused. So is dying not the right term then? Is transcending the more correct?
So I would say so.
He's actually Henry David Thoreau. What?
All right.
But given any absence of contact or context, do you remember how later in the film Luke was still hearing Obi-Wan's voice?
Yes.
So,
okay.
just given all of that, what do you make of that scene?
So, my thought is just that, like, Obi-Wan sort of disappeared somehow. Because he was smiling right before he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I guess later, I guess later he, like, wanted to help Luke, or he helped Luke somehow.
Yep.
And that's how he emerged victorious. Yeah. Is that?
No, that's a great answer.
Okay.
And that is actually exactly what happens. So, I'm not gonna spoil the next movie for you.
Okay.
But Obi-Wan is very, very actively helping Luke. Still. And in a sense, he's more capable of helping Luke now that he's no longer, I guess, confined to a physical body.
I have an explanation for this. A scientific explanation. According to George Lucas's revisionist history, he disintegrated into the Midichlorians. And that is in all of our blood. And is able to...
So not quite. Midichlorians are able to interact with the Force, but they are not equivalent to it.
So I'm just gonna go out and say I'm gonna pretend that Midichlorians was never introduced into the entire series, because that just fucks everything up. I honestly, because like, didn't Qui-Gon Jinn say that the Force is is able to be the Force because of Midichlorians in our bodies?
It's we're able to interact with it because of the Midichlorians in our bodies. There's a very, very interesting subplot, which gets explained in episode 3 partially, when reference is made to Darth Plagueis, who is supposed to be able to sustain, and I don't know if they said it within the actual movie, but create life. That was a very, very interesting subplot, which got explored in some other books. That talked about Darth Plagueis explicitly. He was the master of Darth Sidious, who was later the Emperor. Other than that one plot, I would say
spoilers? I don't know.
Oh, Darth Sidious, yes, I know exactly who that is.
Well, but like, again, this stuff is so incredibly and so amazing that I felt the need to like explore everything possible.
Yeah, no,
but like
exactly.
hearing your thoughts are really cool to me, because, well, what someone who's seen it for the first time, what you get at like first impression is completely different from someone like me who's like seen like from the like Abrasics at the beginning of the universe through to like past the Yuzhong Vong War in like the far distant future, which means nothing to you guys.
Nothing means nothing to me.
But like,
I love that
give
shit.
like multiple tens of millions of years in either direction from the movies.
Which may or may not be canon. Canon.
Yeah. Thankfully, my favorite part of the expanded universe is more ancient history, and they haven't touched much of that because these new movies are moving forward.
Yeah, so you can't quite disqualify that.
And some characters from the ancient universe have been actually incorporated into stories within this the Clone Wars. So, for example, if you watch the new TV series, you may see a character called Darth Bane, who appears in the Sith holocron, which is basically like a projection of his essence. And Bane was an ancient Sith Lord who created the rule of two, that there can always only be two Siths, a master and an apprentice.
Oh, I had no idea.
Only spoiler I'm going to give.
Well, it actually kind of makes it... Because I was thinking like the Sith used to be this entirely huge kind of organization.
They were. And at a certain point, this character, Darth Bane, realized that the Sith, being this giant organization, dispersed their knowledge and their power too much. They were having this giant intergalactic war with the Jedi, and they were not doing so well. So Darth Bane, once he got enough power, realized that to condense their strength, the purest or the most perfect way of doing it would be to confine all of the knowledge and power of all of the Sith into one being, who would then pass it on to their successor. That successor would be there only to lust after that power, to grow in power. And then once that successor had surpassed his or her master, they would kill them and succeed them. And in that way, the Sith would grow in power through the generations, while still being able to be hidden from the Jedi because they were only 2. And in so doing, the dark side would perfect itself. And it does, in the form of Darth Sidious, the Emperor, who almost eliminated all of the Jedi. He was the culmination, literally the embodiment of the dark side.
Execute Order 66.
There you go.
Wow.
But
that makes a lot of sense now.
it does, and I love stuff like this. But it is getting slightly around some of these things, and we'll see how much gets kept. Because there are lots of plot holes or just different aspects in the universe that aren't explained fully.
Yeah.
That might not be essential, but the expanded universe is part of this this fascination with this idea that's just taken hold of us. It's such a huge universe that people are completely able of just throwing themselves in and trying to fill in these tiny backstories. And it's fantastic. And I really hope that Disney decides to keep some of it, or at least reference it out of respect. Like this new villain, Kylo. Actually, I'm getting too
Kylo Ren. I mean, thankfully, on the last note on the expanded universe, we are getting more spin-offs, like Rogue Squadron is getting its own thing. So, while not necessarily referencing your favorite time period or anything like that, we might get a bit more of the lore. It's not centric to the character, because episode 7 to 9 would be more like isolated stories. And let's actually transition to what the story is in Star Wars, because really, it is a point in a larger timeline.
Yep.
And even so, it's a really kind of broad story and broad storytelling in the sense that you use archetypes with the good versus evil. You have the hero's journey, right? Which was introduced and I think collaborated with by Joseph Campbell, who was, I'm gonna be getting the name wrong. We need to fact check that. But Joseph Campbell is a writer who, I think. I guess categorize the hero's journey as a genre of storytelling, and that includes the formula being like the hero is first introduced to us. He has this responsibility thrust onto him, which he initially rejects, and then some inciting point makes him accept it, which is Uncle Ben and Aunt Owen. Aunt Owen? Owen? Wait, Uncle Owen. Aunt. Ben? No, Uncle Owen, Aunt something. Let's say that. Her name is something. Yeah, right? Which their deaths were the inciting point for his initial plot for revenge, which he later learns is not the best way to achieve anything, right? Because revenge is a dish best served cold. And then on, it's just, the entire 3-episode arc is the hero's journey. And the reason why it sort of strikes a chord within all of us, it's so resonant, is the idea that it is so broad, it is so general that anybody can really put themselves in the place of Luke, right? He's not, when you're describing a character like Luke, his only distinctive characteristics are that he's sort of rebellious, not as roguish rebellious as Han Solo is, but he's just confused. He's questioning. He doesn't exactly know his place in the galaxy as much as we know our place on Earth. He's also ambitious. He wants to be a starfighter, and he's coming from a lower place, a lower class, and wants to go from rags to riches, in a sense. See? There's a lot of stuff you can put on this. And that's why, I at least relate to him in that sense.
No, absolutely. I think a large part of that is, if you look through the majority of, at least through A New Hope, what you just saw, how powerful would you say Luke was? How much direct influence or skill do you think he exerted compared to the characters around him?
It wasn't. I was going to comment. I don't think it was that much. And so going back to this theme of really broad storytelling, so not only does Luke's character have so many different facets, as you just said, but also each one of those facets involves so many different people that even though Luke is the star, of the movie, I guess, he's not the most authoritative by any means, and he cannot be who he is without all of these other like players.
Yep.
Yeah, I found that to be really cool.
He's a child.
Well, yeah, I thought that was another part of the universe that helped bring you in, that helps everyone relate to it, because I feel like it's almost a universal thing that going through life, you could never get to where you are without the help of people who, at least for a time, seem much bigger and stronger than you, who like have these extreme characteristics that you learn from and take from, but for a time you are like subsidiary to or helpful to. So Luke didn't get anywhere until ObiWan, this wise old man who knew the ways of the Jedi, took him under his wing. After that, he could not have gotten to where he was with the Rebel Alliance without his foil, Han Solo, who was the cooler, I don't know, more like outlandish cowboy kind of guy. Then he started interacting with more royalty and such, with Leia. There were all the commanders, and so on and so forth through the whole film. But you get the sense that Luke isn't really. It's not so much that he has something inherently amazingly special about him, so much so as something in the universe has conspired such that he will succeed, and everything he needs to succeed will come to him.
Yeah.
And I feel that's something that most people can relate to, or at least hope for in their lives. And it definitely allows you to like insert yourself into that position, because you can see yourself getting help and possibly succeeding given you had the right help.
No, I see him as a perfect vehicle or vessel for us to enter in as. He's not, again, as you said, he's not a distinctive character. He's a child. He's still learning his place and who he is in this universe, right? And yeah, he's shaped by the people he meets with, and who already sort of have figured out what the kind of person they are. Han Solo is the rogue, the cowboy. Princess Leia is the royalty, with the witty one, right? The one who isn't really, she's not down to be royal. She's down to get a little, you know what I'm saying? Chewbacca's like, you know? Chewie. And so he's shaped by these people who he surrounds himself with. And as the series goes on, he becomes more and more unique, in a sense. And yeah, he's the everyman. Yep. In the same sense as like John McClane in Die Hard or something like that, right? Yep. He's an ordinary person who has all this responsibility thrust upon him. And that's sort of the fantasy that everybody has as, you know, for all of the middle-class viewers of the United States, right? It's a fantasy. It's escapism at its best. And for Star Wars Episode 4, this space opera, right? And with its very broad storytelling, it's very resonant. And it really just taps a part of us so easily because of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So, what did you think, Cherie?
I don't know. So, in short, I really liked it, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the series soon. Really interested to hear all these different themes of like Luke sort of being helped along, like also having, I guess maybe having his own say, but also being helped along by all these different characters, how that plays through the whole series. Yeah.
So we're going to end this discussion a little early. It's going to be the first part in a 3-part series as she continues to be enlightened these coming few weeks. So stay tuned. May the Force be with you.
Always.